the storm. Hurry to mankind, we're rising once more. With every far-going heart that we score. They are coming for you, we are coming for them. We're the AXI and we're here to defend. Plasma burns bright, sinks getting warm. Cyclops ahead, they never learn. No retreat, no fear, we face the swarm. We've been here before, we'll weather the storm. Hurry to mankind, we're rising once more. With every far-going heart that we score. They are coming for you, we are coming for them. We're the AXI and we're here to defend. Stars burn bright in the wake of our fight. The Fargoids fall under humanity's might. Hear our words, sharper than blade. Glory to mankind, watch who you invade. Glory to mankind, we're rising once more. The Indra is coming to settle the score. They are coming for you, we are coming for them. We're the AXI and we're here to defend.
The sirens wail, invasion's near. Carry your locks down, our course is clear. Hangar echoes as the jump drive hums. We're heading out, hear the battle drums. Carrier drops in these war-torn grounds. The sky is filled with a deafening sound. Loadouts checked, our nerves are tight. It's chaos out there, but we're ready to fight. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder. Canopy smashed, but we won't go under. They're too many and we're too few. Is this fight too much for us to break through? Outnumbered, outgunned, we're lost in the fray. Canopy's gone as the swarm comes to play. Heat overwhelmed, systems start to fail. They're closing in fast, their strength prevails. Too many to count and far too strong. This might be the end, we may not have long. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder. Canopy smashed, but we won't go under. They're too many and we're too few. Is this fight too much for us to break through? With a fire, a light breaks through. We look to each other, we know what to do. Training kicks in, we form our ranks. Together we stand, there's no turning back. Outnumbered, outgunned, our ships torn asunder. Canopy smashed, but we won't go under. They're too many and we're too few. Is this fight too much for us to break through?
Greetings, Commanders, and glory to mankind. Welcome to today's somewhat different stream. As I promised that we were going to try streaming Starsector, which I describe as the the best game you never heard about. Starsector is a game you can buy essentially directly from the developer/publisher, and is not available on Steam or any of the major platforms, or at least not that I know of. Do I have these? Like, this is already known. All blueprints already known. Right, so I can tell you. So what we have here, and the goal of kind of like today's session, is to show you a little bit around the game. So, like, oops, well, I wanted to kind of do all this on the black market, and I will explain a bunch of things as I go, because like this game has incredible depth and incredible balancing, by the way, as we go. But generally, what I'm doing right now is I'm preparing for an expedition where I want to go explore. Start what, right? That's the most common answer to the survey that I was running. Hey, do you know this game? And like 94% of you all said, "Start what?" And only like 6% or so had actually even remotely played this game. So I thought I'd kind of show you around a little bit, and I don't know, encourage you to try it. It's like $15. It's like, you know, also a super budget game, but it's like amazingly done by a really passionate developer. And I think it's actually one of the better space games out there. So anyway, we've docked at the independent world called Asharu in the core system. And what I'm doing, I'm preparing for an expedition outside of the core systems. The core system is like a bubble in Elite Dangerous, if you want. So it's like a bunch of inhabited systems that are bunched up together. In like Elite Dangerous, there's a variety of factions that operate in the core sectors. And in the meanwhile, I'm like selling a bunch of stuff that I don't want to be carrying with me. This is a good amount. I'll sell these. Volatiles are handy. We'll get to that in a moment. We are essentially full on fuel. This is important if we're going to go outside of the core systems. There's very limited refueling opportunities, so carrying the maximum amount of fuel, as you can see from fuel capacity down here, is important. And we'll get to that in a moment. Sell a bunch of volatiles. All right, we've made enough cargo space that allows us to gather things as we go, as we head to the outer systems, and this should be fine. I'll show you my fleet composition now. This is important. This is the outfit. This is the equivalent of the outfitting for the screen. As you can see, you can also customize some of your icons, which is fun. And you should see that, by the way, we are operating as the Xenostrike Force somewhere. Colonies, custom production. I don't know where it is, but somewhere we are operating as a Xenostrike Force. Believe me, it'll show up in one of these things. That's under a map. But anyway, this is the map of a sort of galaxy or quadrant or whatever it is. And these are the core systems, the ones that are named, the inhabited ones that are inhabited by a variety of factions. You can have more than one faction in the system. You can tell from the colorings, like what the factions are. Like the orange guys are the hegemony, which is a sort of militaristic group that hates artificial intelligence and sort of runs pretty martial kind of group. The blue guys are the Tritakian or Tritakian, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, that are the instead AI lovers guys. Red are pirates, gray are independents, and then you have the Persean League, which is sort of the equivalent of our alliance in Elite Dangerous, like the more democratic kind of folks. And then you have a couple of like more fanatical Ludic Church and Ludic Path factions that are sort of the mainstream church and the fanatical church, if you want, factions of the sector. And so these are all factions that you can either align yourself with or fight, or like just you have to really independent relationships with like all of them. Like show here what the relationship goes. Now, I currently have a commission with Tritakian, which means I'm essentially working for them. And in exchange for me working for them, they provide me with a monthly salary, which helps to pay for my ship upkeep and sort of like other things like fuel and supplies and stuff like that. When you have a commission, like your faction standings depend a lot on your commission faction state with the others. Like for example, right now, as you can see from here, Tritakian is enemy of Hegemony, Ludic Path, and Pirates. So my relationships will be affected by this, and they kind of line up to that. When you eventually, if you eventually resign your commission, your relationship instead are your own, and depend then at that point solely based on how you behave in regards to the specific factions. Now, Pirates and Ludic Path are considered the sort of mean factions that generally don't like you, and it's generally hard to maintain any kind of decent relationships with them. All the others you can generally pick and choose, but it's very doable to maintain pretty good relationships with all the others at the same time. Oh, and I forgot the Syndra Dicta. This is more like the fascists, kind of. It's like a super hardcore leader-inspired faction at the center of the galaxy, which has a few systems. But the Syndra Dicta is notable because they are the biggest producers of fuel in the entire core system. So you'll often be stopping at the gas pump of Syndra, as it has the cheapest fuel in the entire game. So back to us. We were talking about equipping a fleet before we got distracted and started talking about faction. So in this game you pilot one particular ship in combat, or you can transfer and move around different ships if you want before combat, and using a shuttle and taking time in between the tactical combat of the game. Right now I am flying primarily a high-tech fleet of 3 Aurora cruisers, Medusa destroyer, and a combination of Scarab and Hyperion frigates. I also have a few monitors on hand. Like, these are midline ships, which are kind of pretty handy. They're very good defensive frigates. We'll see that in a moment as to how that works. In every fleet, you will also generally have a combination of civilian ships for the purpose of carrying cargo, fuel, or crew. Crew combines both like the crew you use to man your ships and marines, which you use for ground assault operations. These consume a significant amount of supplies and fuel to get around, so you generally don't want to carry them around unless you have a reason to. But generally speaking, you will want one fuel tanker of some kind, which is actually the biggest available in the game. One or more freighter to carry cargo, and then depending on what you're doing, you're going to bring a variety of other specialty ships. We're going to outer systems as part of this expedition, so we're going to bring salvagers, which increase the I'll see this in the refit screen. These have a unique module. Well, unique, you can install on a ship. So these have a built-in salvage gantry, which allows us to increase the recovery of non-rare materials from events and other situations out there, which is handy if you're deep in the black, because again, there's not a lot of opportunities to refuel and restock out there. So scavenging is a pretty viable way to sort of be not entirely self-sustaining to extend the duration of your expeditions in the black. And then I'm also using an Ox, which is a specialty ship, which has a dry fuel stabilizer, which increases the speed of the ship as a whole. And this has a significant drawback in terms of making your sensor profile significantly higher, and in terms of having a very high maintenance being very expensive. So you don't really want to run a tug unless you have a feeling and the desire to go fast for specific reasons, at the price of basically giving up on all kind of stealth in hope of not being detected. So this is what the tug will do for you. Hey Alex, welcome to this unconventional stream. So we talked a little bit about the ships. Again, this ship has this fleet has also a champion midline cruiser, which is a bit of an oddball choice to mix high-tech frigates. But the champion is a weird midline cruiser because it's a midline cruiser which actually has a bunch of energy mounts, and actually combines a few ballistic mounts with a large energy slot and a number of smaller energy slots. So even though it's classified as a midline, the champion class cruiser performs somewhere in between a midline and a high-tech ship. Plus, it's nice to show some variety in the different ships, as the champion works very differently from the Auroras, and we'll get to that in a moment. So having assembled our fleet and having restocked on supplies, we're now ready to head out. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something that is semi-spoilerish, but not too spoilerish, because it's kind of obvious from the nature of the game, which is something that's more typically available in the late game, which is we're gonna use jump gates to head to far side of the galaxy to start exploring from where we have essentially left off the previous time. And this allows us to sort of like travel through the gate, and traveling through the gate we can jump to any gate that we've previously scanned. So you need to scan a gate to be able to use a gate, and and even then the fuel cost is pretty expensive. Like this one is going to take me 300 tons of fuel to get there, but still, it's a relatively good deal in terms of not having to expand the supplies otherwise to get there, and it skips a bunch of time. So we're going to jump through the gate and hop on over to the other side. Here we are in the first of a sort of outside of the core system, and I explore. There's a debris field which I might have already scavenged here, so it might not be the case that it lets me scavenge it. It says you fleet inside a debris field, but it contains nothing of value because it's already been scavenged, so there's nothing going to be in here. So let's head to a jump point and transition from the system map into the hyperspace map. And it looks like the sensor contact, which you can see from the map, has detected a series of unidentified sensor contacts down here, which could be hostiles, but they are not moving, so they look like they are sort of like fleets that are kind of idle at this point. And yes, they're kind of leaving me alone. So we'll be able to order a jump to hyperspace from the Omega jump point. And we are now in hyperspace. So now from here, let's go and see if we can find a system that we haven't scanned yet. These I have scanned. This is the first one I haven't scanned. Ours are these ones, but let's see if we can do a kind of swoop out there. And then from there we can probably head onwards. So let's head to Tar. So in hyperspace, and generally how you move around, you have a few options and a number of controls. Like at the basic sort of like speed, you turn off the sustain burnout, and you're moving at a pretty standard speed. In this case, it's 13 burn level. And like at the standard level, you can quickly turn around. It's relatively easy to maneuver and to accelerate. If you have to go big distances, however, you want to sustain, you will turn off your sustained or burn drive. That you allows to essentially go max speed all the way to 20, but it's actually a lot harder to turn and to go places with the burn drive enabled. So there's trade-offs between like how fast you go and how maneuverable your ship is in hyperspace. Now this should be tar, just based on how it looks like. You can select a different set of system like points where you want to jump. Now there's nascent gravity well on the far side, which indicates that there's going to be a planet over here. So I'm going to do a transverse jump into this nascent gravity well and see if there's a planet that we expect. Thank you, Alex, for the feedback, and we'll turn the volume a little down. Settings, music volume, let's put 50%. I don't want to lose changes, save. Done. So hopefully that's going to be a bit better in terms of balance. Here you can perform a survey which generally requires a certain level of crew, a certain number of heavy machinery, and a certain number of supplies which are consumed upon running the survey. These can be reduced by specific modules on your ship, on your ships, on your fleet. So like we run the survey and it shows that this planet has moderate ore and rare ore deposits. And even without the scan, you already knew that it had no atmosphere and it had an extreme heat. This is not a particularly interesting planet, which is why we only get a class 1 survey data, which is the least valuable of survey data. It's also not a place where we would normally want to establish a colony, which you could, but since the planet is not interested in, since we're not necessarily out to establish a colony at this point in time, is not something we shall do. So again, looking back to the system, we can do things like, for example, use an active sensor burst. Active sensor burst massively increases your sensor range to see if there's anything interesting in the sort of like near vicinity. But it also makes you easily detectable to any kind of enemy fleets that might be in the area. So you want to be careful to use it if you're in like hostile territory, because it's basically announcing to the entire system that you are. There you go. That's exactly what's happening. So this is a very interesting fleet, because this is a partial phase fleet and a partial high-tech fleet. I have no idea what they want. Let's go and see. Talk to them. Open a comm link. When you get to the next live, tell me it was NASA. Okay, well, this is a pirate, which, by the way, probably has a bounty on them based on the fact that it had the exclamation mark next to it. So we randomly stumbled into a bounty, and also one that's going to be pretty nasty, I think, because they have 4 cruisers, of which 2 are phase cruisers, which are nasty ships, especially if you don't have specific weapons to counter them. 2 Auroras, which kind of match our 2 Auroras with officers, and then a number of additional phase and high-tech ships. So this is going to be a pretty pitched battle, but let's go for it and see how we do. Like, this is where you get to select which ships to deploy. There's a number next to each ship, which essentially says how many supply units it costs to deploy that ship. If you're fighting like just a single little frigate, you don't want to deploy 197 worth supply over your fleet, because essentially it's going to be more expensive to take that frigate down than you would ever get in terms of like benefits from the results of the battle itself. In this case, though, we are out against a full pirate bounty and a pretty tough fleet, so we shall deploy the whole fleet and again see how it goes. Once you click the deploy button, you get to a tactical screen which shows essentially like how your ship is and what. And at this point, you can give orders through expending command points, which slowly regenerate. So you want to be careful in terms of like how many times you stop and give orders to a fleet, because you can't just do that in a general indeterminate like way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a general defend order onto the champion class cruiser, which is the slowest of my ships. So if I don't do that, there's a good risk that all the other ships are gonna go way ahead of the champion, and the champion is gonna end up itself way in the back, isolated and unable to contribute to the battle as a whole. The champion itself, I'm gonna sort of like set to a waypoint up here, and then I'm gonna separately send 2 of my faster ships, which either the Hyperions or the Scarabs, but probably the Scarabs, to capture waypoints that contribute benefits to the fleet. I'm going to leave these 2 alone because these 2 will probably be captured by the hostile fleet before my ship have an ability to get there, and I don't want my single Scarabs to be caught by the entire enemy fleet, because they would go up in a bang very, very quickly. So with that, I think we can give the order to start the battle, and here we are. So each ship has a number of weapon groups. Essentially, we've grouped up these weapons in a number of set groups. I've set 3 out of the 4 to auto fire, as you can see from down here, and then the 4th one I'm reserving for manual fire, which is the single phase lance that this ship has. You can toggle your shields on and off. Shields generate flux. Flux is basically the resource that says whether you can use your weapons or whether your shields are gonna hold. If your flux reaches the limit, your ship will overload, which is a very bad thing, because you will be unable to control the ship for a period of time. Your shields will drop, and chances are you will be primary by the enemy, and you will probably be destroyed. Now, this ship is very flux efficient, and I'm fighting a destroyer here, which is actually in my favor, but this guy has a special system that kind of temporarily drops my shield, which was annoying. As you can see, drop my shield, which means I took some damage. And something went through my shields and turned my engines off, which is why now I'm not gonna drifting all the way down. Engines back online. I'm gonna use my special system, which is my plasma jets, to kind of get myself quick back into the line of combat. And again, probably retreat a bit because I'm getting far ahead of myself. Phase ships have a special dynamic where if they're phased, you cannot officially destroy them. Now I'm gonna back and drop my shields to reduce my flux, and now get again back into the action. Like the other Aurora has engaged the ship, which has phased though, so it cannot be hit. You can see that while it's phased, its flux is increasing, so it cannot stay phased forever. And if you're close to it, the moment it unphases, you can do exactly this, which means that you can unleash hell on it and take it down. They just did. Alright. So now, ooh, that's a mine. Fortunately, I was able to avoid being hit by that mine. So that is a salamander missile that's trying to get to my engines, disable my engines, but I managed to kind of like rotate fast enough while my shields are turning on to not be hit by it, which is nice. Now I'm gonna look a little bit as to where the battle line is. My Scarab is battling an Afflictor out here, and it should be able to hold its own, so that's gonna be fine. Other than that, the battle line is like pretty spread out on my end, which is dangerous because like I'm starting to get separated from the main part of my fleet, which means I should probably try and close up so that we can cover each other and avoid being flanked by, especially this Doom cruiser is going to be very dangerous. So I'll see if I can like close ranks and circle back towards the ship overall. Hey Atlas Rand, yes, this is a late stream, and the Fargoids, this one doesn't have Fargoids for once, although they are aliens, like, but since I don't want to spoil it too much, I'm not going to show too much of the sort of endgame things related to this. I'm just going to show the game and how it works. So as I mentioned, I'm trying to get myself back into position. I use my plasma jets as soon as they load again. Like, these are 2 Omen frigates, which are also high-tech frigates, which are good support ships, by the way. But they are pretty fragile, so if you can get close enough to them, you can catch them, sort of, especially when they're alone. It's very possible to take them down. Okay, now we've reformed a battle line. I'm gonna tell this guy to go and capture that point. This point is behind the enemy fleet, so I'm not gonna go for that one instead. I'm gonna see if like I can focus fire like together with the rest of my fleet against one or more of these ships. Like, I don't want to be taking on 2 Auroras by myself, because I would get myself into a problematic situation if I did that. And let's see. Alright. We are in a position to hit the helmets. Yes, we are. Let's see. Now, boom. There we go. My Scarab managed to take that point out. So let's see if we can direct that one to that. No. Alright, so we got some mines exploding on me. But fortunately we're far enough that we're able to drop our shield and flux. That's all that matters to my engine. Oof, they got my engine. Salamanders are one of those weapons. Ooh, my Medusa got destroyed. That is disappointing. We're fighting a Hyperion here as well, so it's a very high-level enemy fleet for Firebound. Hey, I see you there. Right now it's 2-on-1 with a Hyperion and an Aurora, so I'm gonna kind of pull back with my plasma jets, get out of range, drop my shields, and deflux as soon as I'm able to. Avoid that torpedo. That's a torpedo. It does massive damage. Those Salamanders again are gonna result in defluxing out. Let's take down Hyperion. Just use it. There we go. The thing about the Hyperion is it's very fragile, but it is overfluxed. He'll die quickly, as you can see from what happened here. Alright. Now we need to deflux again, dropping our shields. Take down Doom again. Almost fully fluxed. There you are. Now it's essentially cannot phase because it is completely fluxed. So it's going to take a ton of damage from my ship, which is like has massively better flux stats when it's not phased. Okay, so Doom is there. Someone else is dropping mines, so there's another Doom up there, more likely than not. Oh, that's their version of the Medusa ship, but they destroyed mine. Oh, now that one. This is gonna have a hard time. This is up for a truly unfortunate matchup right now. This Medusa is not gonna last very long. See, we don't have Fargoids, but we have Medusas. In this game. And Medusa down. So that is an Aurora that has a lot of torpedoes, by the way, in arm. So we want to be very careful not to be fluxed out here, because like, I was going to unload the whole barrage of torpedoes in my face, and they'll probably destroy the ship as part of the process. But now we should be able to kind of like, ooh, sabos. That's like a pretty interesting ship that has a good combination of weapons. Now I dropped my shield, which also encouraged it to fire torpedoes, but I dodged it. Yeah, more sabos, taking my shield down. That ship is very, very well equipped. I'm gonna need some support from her, so my ship probably takes this one down. Auroras are among the best crews in the game, by the way. Oh, now we flanked it. This is the situation where you don't ever want to find yourself in, just flanked by the enemy. That's when things go south. now I'm fluxed out, so again, I will retreat through. Get my flux down, and back in action. Alright, that Aurora is about to land. Boom. What else we got? We got the other Aurora here, which means we can take that one down. Isn't that right, Atlas? It is a little bit. It does remind me also, like, it's a combination of a few things. A combination of Starflight, I think, from adventure and general explore the map and find out secrets and run missions and whatnot. Ooh, there was a Doom there too, which exploded. Nice. And Starsector a little bit for the tactical combat, but it is more tactical than Starsector. Right? Starsector was like, sorry, Starsector. I mean, what is it called again? Star Control 1, 2, 3. Glorious games. But Star Control were a bit more arcadey when it comes to like, are we all dead? I think we're all dead. Is that an enemy ship? No, that is an enemy ship. So let's go get that one. Star Control is a more arcadey versus like Starsector being more tactical in nature. That ship is retreating at full speed. I've got an encounter with one of my Hyperions out there. My Hyperion short work of that. There we go. And with that, we can claim victory. We'll pursue a fleet. It's now the sort of fight is completely unbalanced, so I'm just gonna tell my second in command to deal with it, so you don't actually have to fight the battle, and I'll just finish it off. I'll recover my Medusa that kind of like got shredded, and now has D-mods, which is like lasting damage that can only be repaired in the very, very high price at a dry dock. But we'll be able to kind of like, do I want to carry with me the Starsector as well? So I want to say I wouldn't call this real-time strategy. I mean, you can pause the game at any time. You are in a ship. You can choose to control a ship, but you also give orders to the fleet as a whole, as I was showing earlier. So it's a unique blend of pausable real-time tactical battle, or real. Yeah, I think RTS is. It's such a difficult thing to kind of really define a genre for it. Anyway, this is the loot that we have. We got a number of supply, fuel, and a bunch of weapons and some random cargo that we will take and carry with us. Since this was a big boom, there should also be a debris field left after a battle, which there is, which we can scavenge. And this tells you how likely it is that you can scavenge, and grab a bunch of stuff and carry it with you. And go back to what we're trying to do, which was to like survey this planet before we got intercepted. I think that there was a bounty associated with taking that down, but there should be a log somewhere if we did take down a bounty, but not being the character. By the way, I got a skill point, so this is this character level up screen where you can see and select all the skulls. As you can see, I went the technology tree for the most part, and the leadership tree for sort of like to a degree. And this is the last skill that I will be able to get, because with this level I've kind of reached the maximum level, which is 15. And so I'm kind of like thinking hard what I want to take. Definitely not feels cool tuning, because I'm not running phase ships. Neuralink also is not particularly interesting. And this is also kind of a pretty useless skill that I picked up. I don't know why I picked this up out loud, but at some point I should respect and just lose this one, because it's like not particularly useful. But I'm either going to take this one for plus 5% weapon damage, which is always handy, or what was the other one that was somewhat interesting? There was one here. There's a bunch of skills that only affect your piloted ship, and I find those, while nice, to be generally underwhelming when you're flying in a larger combat fleet. So I try to avoid taking those. See, this one instead affects the whole fleet and lets you repair faster outside of combat, and repairs 25% of hull damage taken automatically at no cost, which is actually pretty handy if you are taking a bunch of damage. It also like enhances ship you recover, but that's probably more important in the early game rather than in the middle of that game. Salvaging just gives you more salvage, which really is not interesting at all. And then these are all combat ships that have to do with the ship you pilot for the vast majority, except all of them actually directly affect your pilots. So all of these are more important if you're like actively trying to get the best out of your ship, but again, I find those to be underwhelming in a fleet type of context. So we could pick 2 more officers, right? This is probably like, in terms of overall effectiveness of the fleet, officers make a humongous difference, and so this is probably the most impactful scale I could pick up if I was to pick up any particular scale. That's probably worth more than the plus 5% damage that and plus 50% effectiveness on ground raids, which again, ground raids are not a key thing of the game. So it's not on Steam. It's available directly from the developer website, and it's only $15. So I think it's a fantastic buy, but again, to each their own. Let's see. So let's go. Should we go the officer, or should we go? I think I have to kind of have 2 lower tier scales, but this is like damage stuff, flak stuff. Alright, let's go with the officer one. Confirm. Alright. Can I reassign scales, by the way? Story point. No. I don't know if anyone can. There are any skills I could be making it. All of these have no elite component to them. Got no implant have a component, but the value of the elite skill there is kind of very low. It basically, since I'm piloting a cruiser, it would only give me plus 1% UCM rating, which is really not exciting at all. I think this is more exciting if you're piloting frigates. So anyway, let's leave it like this. And then let's quick save the game since we did a bunch of stuff, and you never know that you might run into a really unfriendly fleet, or other bad things might happen. So, alright, let's have a look. See, and these are again pulse. See if there's anything interesting. We just scanned the stuff that we were dealing with over there. There's like a range jump point over there. I want to go close to the other star because sometimes stars have research stations next to them. So now debris field. Let's see what's in here. We've got some crew and some random salvage. Let's see if there's anything next to that star down below. Not down the star, but there's something next to the jump point down below. So let's head ourselves down towards the bottommost jump point. That might be a debris field, or it might be something else. Let's see what it is. This is a minor equipment cache. We like minor equipment caches. They're not usually very interesting, but you never know what's in there. There's a ship to recover. This is Lasher. Lashers suck, so we don't care about Lashers. But we found an eradicator blueprint. Now this one is very interesting. So we just picked that up. And with that blueprint installed, we are be able to produce that ship at our colonies, or when we meet a special NPC that lets us do just that. Let's see. Let's go back to our intel. I can't remember if I had picked up any missions accepted. There's a blueprint down there, but we went in the opposite direction, so we're kind of far. And there's a technology cache all the way up here, which we actually want to go get that one. And we're kind of, this one's sort of on the way. So if we meet slipstream that goes in that direction, we might take it and head out, because I think there's also a gate that will allow us to get back from there. Well, down below here. Okay. Let's get up here and then hop to this gate and then see if there's a slipstream that takes us there. Slipstreams are like hyperspace flows that let you move quickly from one part of hyperspace to another. You'll see once we kind of eventually bump into one here in hyperspace. Well, let's continue our exploration of this overall system. Let's head to this, actually, again, to the nascent gravity well, and traverse jump into the system. It is an incredibly deep game. Like, it has everything from fighting, from like colony building, from politics and missions and exploration, and I mean, it's really incredible, like the amount of love and work that has gone into this little game, which is why, I mean, I was talking about it earlier. I think this is the best game that people have never heard about. Like, it's really, really good. All right, there we go. I'll run another survey. Okay, the system is fairly uninteresting. Let's give it a pulse and see if there's something there. Well, this is like a silly little fleet that is inactive, so we'll just go past it and jump to hyperspace. All right, so we explored this system as well. It's one more star in this portion of a nebula. This I explored on the way back from something else. And there we go. Onto this system here. I'm conducting a kind of wholesale scan of different places in the system, because eventually I will want to build my colony. I want to know what are the choices with regards to what's essentially the best planet to place one or more colonies. Like, building colonies is a common activity that happens towards the mid game, somewhere between the mid game and the end game. See, now I kind of breeze past it with like my sustain drive. This is ultra rich ore deposits, which already gives it access to like class 2 data. But again, class of planets goes to like class 1, most uninteresting, all the way to class 5, which is the most interesting. Of course, Atlas Rant, anytime. Hit me up in Discord. Alright, let's jump again to hyperspace. This is a slipstream. Like, this is going the wrong direction though, so it's not particularly interesting. So we'll head to a nebula. Nebulas have typically a lot of planets, so it can take a little while. This is a storm. This is a hyperspace storm. Hyperspace storms allow you to basically surf the wave and propel your fleet to a very high speed, but they also damage your fleet. So it's a bit of a trade-off whether you want to go into hyperspace storm. This is an ice giant that, again, I'm surveying, and there's this additional mechanic of pulsing between interesting objects. In this case, it'll give me a bonus for the gas giant, and this is a magnetic field, so the magnetic field of this planet is also considered interesting. And as soon as my pulse recharges, I'm going to do another pulse, and it's going to give me another hyperspace topology 5 points for scanning this